Hey guys, in this video I'll talk about a period in PokeMMO known as the Great Depression. Prices were crashing like never before, fundamental economic rules of the game were thrown into the trash, it seemed like the economy wouldn't recover and that it was the end of the game. But if you zoomed out for a bit and saw the big picture, it all became very clear. During this period I made over 80 million profit, so trust me, the market wasn't dead. If you watch this video until the end, you will understand the causes and effects of the Great Depression, signals to help you spot trends, including one that's happening right now, and strategies to profit from the chaos. These are just my personal observations from watching the GTL, and for all you know, I could be the Captain's Parrot talking about economics in this game. If you want more videos like this, breaking down the PokeMMO market, showing you ways to make money in-game, and mixing real info no one else is sharing with my bad jokes and overthinking, then hit that subscribe button. Also, drop a like, otherwise it will feel like I spent way too many hours over analyzing the market for nothing. Now, let's get into it. From July 11th to August 8th, 2025, the second official Shiny Wars happened. Around 150 teams jumped into the Shiny Wars event, each team had 25 to 30 players, which means roughly 4,000 players were participating. All this activity shook up the market, and because of how the points were given in the event, a big focus was hunting Shalphas. But alpha eggs are really expensive. Male alpha Pokemon, which you need to breed the eggs, didn't drop in price in any egg group. And some alpha genderless species like Bronzong, Magneton and Electrode actually doubled in price. This goes to show players were willing to pay 40k for an alpha egg, and two main strategies were used for Shalpha hunting. The first one I'll call the classic method. The goal is simple, you're trying to get your desired Shalpha Pokemon. Examples include Kanto starters or Eevees. Because of that, there was a lot of demand for male alphas, and to my surprise, all male alphas from all egg groups stayed pretty stable in price. The second strategy is way more interesting, and I know this strategy is named after a player, and Deepak, I think I heard it from you, so if you can, please comment the name of the creator of it and I'll pin it to give credit. But for now, I'll call it the alternative method. With this method, you are not hunting for a specific species. Players start breeding alpha Pokemon upwards from 2 IVs and pushing them to 4, 5 or even 6 IVs. Every time they breed, there's a chance to get a Shalpha. And when they feel they have bred enough, they sell whatever resulting Pokemon they have on the GTL. The goal here isn't to make a profit, it was just to recover some of the money spent on each egg attempt. Usually, these resulting Pokemon had 4 to 6 IVs. This flooded the market with multiple IV Pokemon and made 31 IV prices go down for a while. Honestly, if you had the chance, would you spend your money on a single 31 IV breeder or grab one with multiple 31 IVs at a discount? In my opinion, this was one of the main things that shifted the market during the wars and set the stage for all the changes we saw. But it wasn't the only factor. Player behavior also played a role in it. Now that we know what players were doing during Shiny Wars, let's look at how all that shiny hunting impacted the market. First, shiny hunting stuff went up in price. Players were spending more to try and get those shiny rolls. On the other hand, all 31 IV Pokemon and 31 IV Dittos went down in price. Fewer players were breeding for anything other than shiny hunting. And it wasn't just the ones participating in wars. Since everyone got a 10% shiny boost, lots of other players joined in the shiny hunting too. And that means less demand for breeding other Pokemon. Shiros, the most common Dittos without any 31 IVs, actually went up in price. That's because players were using them for egg hunting. Meanwhile, multiple 31 IV alpha Pokemon were flooding the market. And all of this had a big effect on Dittos and on the 31 IV market. The price gap between Shiros and 31 IV Dittos basically disappeared. For a while, single 31 IV Dittos were used as Shiros, and it was something I have never seen before. This just shows how players' behaviors and event bonuses can shake up the market for a bit. And on top of all of this, the incubator update happened at the same time, so breeding changed overnight and it's almost impossible to separate its impact from the wars because everything happened so fast. But not all parts of the market were affected equally. Some Pokemon held their value, and that's where things get interesting. Now let's talk about what I call final product Pokemon. These are the level 100 EV trained Pokemon you actually use for gym runs, payday farming, catching or PvP. Since players' focus shifted, I thought this would drop down in price as well. But to my surprise, they didn't. I think this happened because these are the Pokemon players actually need. They aren't just for breeding. You use them to complete content, to make money, or to climb that feared PvP ladder. I don't remember seeing anything unusual like Typhlosions going for less than 200k or a Tapu-U PvP Mon dropping to 500k. So even while 31 AV Dittos were tanking and shiny hunting supplies went crazy in price, these final product Pokemon weren't heavily affected. I was watching the GTL, everything else was bouncing around like crazy, but what about your Typhlosion? Still sitting there, steady as a rock. The same goes for Tapu-U PvP Pokemon like Serperior. If it had perfect IVs in the correct stats, the right nature and was correctly EV trained, it held its price. But the Pokemon you need to breed it, like a Snivy, was going for half of their normal price. It is very unusual in the game, but in this period it was cheaper to buy what you wanted from the GTL than actually breeding it. And this means there was profit to be made, for example, from buying this Pokemon and training them up. And that's an important point. This shows that the so-called Great Depression wasn't a market crash across the board. It was just temporarily shaken by the event and by how players were behaving. Understanding all of this helps you spot trends while they're happening and focus your attention on what really matters. If you found this insight useful and you haven't done it yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because it helps me keep bringing you content that you actually enjoy. Now let's zoom out and talk about what smart players do all year long to get ready for events like this and how we can use this knowledge to profit. One of the most important things to understand about the PokeMMO market is that some players prepare for Shiny Wars all year and some don't. The ones who do stock up on shiny hunting supplies like fossils, Dittos, mysterious balls and Leppa berries, which gives you a chance to profit if you buy early and sell to the ones who didn't prepare when demand spikes during the event. I'll tell you now signals to look for that can give you an edge to understand ahead of time where the market is going and to stay confident and profit while everyone else is panicking. So, pay attention now. Tracking Shiros, 31 IV Dittos and specific breeding Dittos is a key indicator. If you're not deep into breeding mechanics, just know that these specific Dittos are the ones used to make competitive Pokemon. These Dittos are adamant natured with 31 IVs in attack or speed, modest natured with 31 IVs in special attack and speed, and the ones with 31 in speed and 20s in HP, defense and special defense. If their prices start climbing up, it usually means that players are actively breeding the final product Pokemon we talked about earlier, and that shiny hunting isn't the priority at the moment. By keeping an eye on these clues, you can see where the player focus is ahead of everyone else. So when the time is right, you can buy or sell shiny hunting supplies, and the right move depends on your strategy. Honestly, I would love to say that I was some kind of genius during the shiny wars, but what really happened is I adapted to the market shifts, sniped when the opportunity was good, and almost doubled my net worth. I even lost a little money on some flips, and looking back at my own flipping videos, you can see why. Some of these Dittos were undervalued, and at the time I didn't understand what you now know. I hope this information helps you become an expert on understanding the market and give you an edge to profit. Next we'll look at how the market bounced back after the wars. After Shiny Wars ended, the market started going back to normal. Shiros and 31 IV Dittos returned to their usual price difference, genderless alpha went back to around 20k, male alphas from less desired egg groups like Bug dropped from 40k to less than 30k, and this shows that supply and demand naturally corrected themselves once the event ended. Although the market might have needed more time to fully recover if players weren't already starting to prepare for the event season. For those of you who don't know, event season runs from Halloween to the Chinese Lunar New Year. This is when new content drops and casual players come back to the game. During the Shiny Wars, which happened in the off-season, raid Pokemon, for example, weren't very valuable. But now, with event season approaching, players are preparing their raid teams. Some are breeding them ahead of time to be ready when raid drops, and others are already selling these Pokemon to profit. Another thing we can notice from these market trends that's happening right now, like I promised you in the intro, is that since event season is coming up and it gives players great investment opportunities, people aren't spending as much on other things. And shiny breeders took a hit in their prices. At your own risk, you could buy them cheaply now and sell them when their prices go back to normal during or after the event season. It's all about understanding the patterns and knowing when to buy and when to sell. All of this shows that the market has fully recovered and that trends can be predictable if you pay attention to seasonal incentives. By spotting these patterns, you can see which Pokemon and resources will go up in price before big events, and this is exactly the kind of insight that lets players profit when they know what to watch for. This is a new format of video I'm trying. I have never analyzed the market like this before, and putting it all together took me way more time than I care to admit. That's why this video comes a little late in the whole Great Depression situation, and I want to thank you for sticking around until this point. The only way all the time and effort I put into this actually feels worth it is if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even drop a comment telling me what you thought. That wraps up the Great Depression period in PokeMMO and the market shifts during the Shiny Wars. The big takeaway is the market wasn't dead, it moved based on player behavior, event incentives, and preparation patterns. Some Pokemon and supply spike, others dip, and a few stay steady no matter what. Watching trends signal like specific breeding Dittos and seasonal incentives lets you see the shifts as they happen. You are not just reacting after the fact. Understanding this gives you a real picture of how the market reacts and why timing and observation are everything. Even during the chaos, final product Pokemon held their value while breeding supplies and intermediate Pokemon were the ones bouncing all over the place. Again, thank you so much for sticking around until the end. It really means a lot to me that you care to watch my PokeMMO economy TED Talk all the way through. See you next time.